back out at CCU on a very windy afternoon, but I want to test some understable, faster fairway hybrid drivers. And I know throwing into a headwind, probably a 10-mile-per-hour headwind, is not the best scenario to test understable drivers, but it's a scenario that a lot of us face. So we'll test them throwing down into the headwind, and then we'll turn around and test them coming back. What I have is a Sapphire, a couple of Sapphires. They're relatively lightweight and around the 160 mark. I have a Pinnacle Patriot from Legacy, several F3s, mostly in 400G plastic, and a Vandal. That's the one that's in my bag right now. So let's see how they fly. I'm gonna start off with a 174 gram Lucid Vandal. And again, into about a 10-mile-per-hour wind. Obviously, I'm gonna wanna throw this on quite a bit of hyzer, let it flip up and glide. Keeping it low, trying to keep it under the wind, and you can see it just kind of burns over and burns out. That's kind of what I expected. A disc like that, you're almost scared to throw it hard just because of what it could potentially do. You know, in this particular instance, it could flip over and go out there in the street. Next, we have a pretty used, pretty old Pinnacle Patriot, and it is 174 also from Legacy Disc. Flips up, doesn't quite have as much turnover as the Vandal, and has a little bit of finish left. That one actually flies really, really good. Going to be comparing them up against a couple of Latitude 64 Sapphires. These are 157 and 155. So the 155 I keep in my bag currently just because it's white and it's easier to see. The wind's died down just a touch. Let's see. Flips up to flat and finishes. And as you can tell on that one, I put that on a lot of hyzer. This one, I'm not gonna put on quite as much. We'll see what happens. Uh-oh, there she goes. Off to the right, flattens, and sits down. Now, that's a shot that, even though it's into the wind, I realize, and it's gonna be quite understable, that's a shot that's quite valuable on a lot of courses because you can play that with a backhand. If you play it flat, you can get a roller, a little hyzer, you can get that drift and sit. But you can also use it as a forehand. If you have a flip up, you wanna do a hyzer flip on a forehand, maybe a recovery shot or something like that. I have several F3s. All of these are in 400. I have a 500 and a 400G one as well I'm gonna be trying out. Starting out with some older bar stamp F3s. These are a touch more stable. Flips up to flat, glides, tries to fight, and then finishes. This purple one should be roughly the same stability. Well, more stability because I didn't quite get over on it. But you can tell that thing's fighting the wind admirably. 400 F3, this one's really chalky. Flips to flat, flips over, and essentially it's sitting right on top of that Vandal. Here's another 400 F3, also very chalky. Nose up, right out of my hand, but you can tell it because it's trying to fight that wind as well. And it's not horrible. I mean, obviously I didn't throw it the way I wanted to, but it's not horrible. Here is probably the most understable one in my bag. It's a 400G F3. Let's take a look at it. I'm gonna have to put it on quite a bit of hyzer. That thing was at a 45-degree angle, flipped up to flat, and then finished flat. Here is a 500 F3. Now, this one's not quite as understable, but pretty close. And again, just like the others, it drifts up and it shows its stability. So that's the nice thing about this is you just saw what, 5 or 6 F3s, and they all fly different. So it's nice to have those in different plastics. You can always use them. I'm gonna go down there and collect them, and we'll throw them back with the wind, with the tailwind, see the difference in flight. All right, I came down to the other end and got in the shade because it's like 97 today and it's very, 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 very hot. This time the wind is gonna be at my back, but the thing is there's trees right here behind the camera and they're pretty tall, so the wind isn't gonna really affect the flight until it gets maybe twice the distance past the shade here, halfway to the trees that are straight out there. So this is a shot that you'll typically see in the woods where you want a shot to flip up to flat and glide, or maybe you want it to drift a little right, drift a little left, whatever. If you have the skill set to throw these understable fairways on a forehand, good on you. I don't have that skill set. I can, get out of trouble, but that's about it. But to be able to throw them full power and actually get them to flip up, glide, maybe drift or whatever, I don't have that skill set. I'm working on it, but I don't have that skill set. So what I want to do is throw them toward the basket that's off in the far distance, which is about 340-ish from the camera, about 330 from where I'm throwing from. And I want them to flip up to flat, go through the gap straight toward the basket, and just see what happens. So we're going to start off with that Lucid Vandal. Obviously, I'm not going to throw them on quite as much hyzer this time. Throw them on just a little bit. All right, not quite to flat. Finished in around the 300-ish range, 290, 300. Next, I'm going to try the Opto Sapphire. I think it's Opto Sapphire. Yeah, I believe it is. I was always really, really reluctant about throwing super lightweight discs, especially distance drivers and fairways. But I have to say that these things have enough stability to hold their own while still being lightweight. In the woods, I had a tournament this past weekend. I used the white one in the woods quite a bit. It's super nice. Whenever you have that shot that you want to throw that flips up, drifts a little bit right, but always has enough to catch itself so it doesn't roll, it's a great shot. So here we go with this. This is the Sapphire, one of them. About the same flight as the Vandal. Seems to have, oh, that one went pretty long. That one went about 330. Seems to have roughly the same distance. It gets there faster and it has a harder finish. Here's the white one. Oh no, I let it go early. Okay, well, at least you got to see a good flight of one. Here is the Legacy Pinnacle Patriot. This one feels heavier, it feels bigger, it feels almost like a mid-range. I'm gonna throw it almost flat. Again, pretty low. Essentially did the same thing as that Sapphire. Now we're gonna crank up with some of the F3s. F3s I love, I keep several in my bag. Here's a 400 F3. That one flipped up to flat and quickly finished at about 300 feet. Another 400 F3. Downwind is, you have to put a little bit more pop to it. That one doesn't quite get all the way up to flat. That's a really good flight. That one went out there about 330. Here is the most understable one, the 400G. Put it on quite a bit of hyzer. It still managed to get up to flat, fighting the wind the whole way, and only managed to go around 310. The bar stamp F3s, if you can find some of the old ones from like 2017, 2018, these are crazy stable. I can throw that one flat about as hard as I want, and it rides flat and finishes. That one's out there about 330. And here's another. This one is also a bar stamp 400 F3. This was a little heavier. So let's see how it flies. Throwing it flat. Oh, nope, not quite flat, a little bit hyzer. And you can see it didn't want to get up to flat. It wanted to stay on whatever angle I put it on. So that's super nice, it's super helpful. A disc that I have found that I love in my bag is this 500 F3. It's soft and semi-understable, kind of flies like an F3's numbers suggest it should. If I put it on a little hyzer, it'll hold it. If I put it flat, it will drift over. So I'm gonna try to throw it flat on this one. Even downwind, you can see it drifts to the right just a bit, catches itself, and that's probably around the 320, 330 mark. So, end of the day, which one would I put in my bag? Well, I already had the Vandal in my bag, and now I have the Sapphire, and to be 100% honest, between the two of those, I like the Sapphire better. It doesn't take as much to throw it the way I want it to fly. But as far as the F3s go, yeah, I'm gonna keep the 400G maybe, and definitely the 500 F3.